To part 2 of Google Keyword Planner. My name is Mike Wood. I am going to be your mentor and your presenter today. So we are going to talk now about getting our data in a spreadsheet and starting to work the data and take you through those steps. So once we have put in our seed phrases, that's done through the beginning keyword planner. So if you click on this tools and settings section, you'll come over here to keyword planner and enter those. If you haven't watched that webinar, I have the getting started webinar for you to watch. That's titled Introduction to Google Keyword Planner, Setting Up a Free Account. Okay, and so that's the one that you will look for those instructions. And then here we're going to move on. So we've done our search. We ended that last webinar with this search, getting all of these keywords here. Now we're going to download our keyword ideas. So at the top right here, download keyword ideas. We click on that. And they give us two options currently. This is something that is fairly new to Google. You might be watching this recording later and it might not be there the same, but what we want is to download this .csv file. This Google Sheets, supposedly, I think that's supposed to put it right into your Google Drive account, but it doesn't do that. So, so click on the .csv to download, and that's going to download the file. It says down here, preparing report. And then once it downloads, it'll throw it at the bottom of your Chrome browser if you're on Chrome, which I recommend that you always use Chrome. Oh, it's going to give us a window here to name it. The Save As is right up out of the screen here, but I generally like to put a keyword in there. So right at the beginning where it says keyword stats, I'll just type in a keyword related to what we're doing. So this one, for example, is twisted wood art. So we're going to put that in there and then save it. And that will save our file that we need. And like I say, if you're running Chrome, then it's easy to get those files because it throws it right down here on the bottom left of your browser. Now there's another reason I like this. If we open a new tab on Chrome and go to drive.google.com, then we're in Google's free Drive account where we have access to all of these files that we can create and save. And so here I can come down to this file that I just downloaded at the bottom and drag it up into my Drive. So real quick and easy, see where it highlights blue like that, and it's got the green plus sign in the middle of the screen with my paper. So I can click click on that, drag it up here, and then you can see where it says drop files to instantly upload them to Drive. I let go of it and drop it in there, and boom, it's in my Drive. And so there it is for me. I can click on this one or double click this one, either way, and it will open that up. And it's going to give this little shadow overview where it says at the top in the middle, open with Google Sheets. Or it might have a drop down and says open with, and then you've got to choose Google Sheets. So we want to click open with Google Sheets, and that's going to open that file for us in a format that we can start editing now. And so we can go back on that tab there, and then we've got the tab opening here. Now, at this point, we're going to start editing the file. So what I'm going to do is, in this video, I just want to go through and show you how to get set up with this file and how to format it the way we need it, how to delete any columns that we don't need, and how to create the formula for helping us move forward with the research. So that's what we're going to do. So first, if you look over here on the top, we've got this keyword stats and this date right here when it was downloaded, two rows of information that we don't need. Okay, so in order to delete those rows, we want to delete the entire row, we've got to click over here on the numbers of the row. So if I click one and drag down to 2, it highlights both of them. If you click and let up and then click again, then it doesn't highlight multiple, it just moves the one that's highlighted. So make sure you click drag to highlight the ones that we want to get rid of, and then right click within the highlighted section and go down to delete rows. And when we do that, it deletes that information. And then I click outside of that. You can just, when you get these messages, just click got it, and it'll let you keep moving. Now I click outside of the highlighted, so it's no longer highlighting things, and then I click back and highlight just number 1, and then I can bold this. So I can go up to the big B in my header here, or I can press on my keyboard. On a Windows computer, it's Control B. On a Mac or an Apple computer, it would be Command B, and that will make everything bold in that header, anything that's highlighted. So when you highlight number 1, it highlights the entire header. Now, as we're scrolling, if we scroll up and down, notice that header went away because I started scrolling. So in order to keep the header there, over here you'll see in this corner, if we click on that corner, it highlights the entire document. But that corner square has a kind of a dark gray line, a bolder line around it. If you hover over that until you see the little hand icon, you can click that and drag it below the number 1, and now that puts a separator between the header row and the rest of the data, so if we start scrolling, the header stays there. That's helpful for me so that I know what all the data is. As I start putting other numbers and things in there, I like to be able to see what data is what. It's more important when you have a lot more data. We're going to be narrowing this down so we don't have as much. Now, just like I deleted the rows over here, we're going to delete some columns. The only columns we really need here are column A, which is our keyword, and columns D and E, which is our minimum and maximum search volume. Now, if you actually are running ads, it'll give you one number instead of a range. But since we're using the free account here, we're not running ads, we're going to have a range there. So we want to get rid of column B and C. So we're going to highlight column B and C, again, highlighting the letters up there at the top, up above the header row. And so we highlight both of those and then right-click within that highlighted area and delete. And that will get rid of those, and that moves these next 2 that we want over into that area. Now we can get rid of a bunch of these others. We don't need all the rest of this. Okay, that competition column is only related to people running ads. That's the competition of paid advertising. If we wanted to pay for this to have an ad running, then it's telling us, well, there's high competition. Okay. And we're not even going to get into that right now because we're not talking about running ads. So we're just going to highlight several of those. I've highlighted D through L there, and then right-click on the highlight, delete, and then it'll move a bunch of these over. We don't need all those either, so again, I'm going to right-click and delete. And I'm going to do that a third time here, right-click and delete. And now we're left with just 2 columns. I actually need 4, and so now I'm going to right-click, since I deleted 4, and I'm going to insert 2 to the right or the left, doesn't matter, because they're just all blank. And so we put 4 columns in here, okay? Now the reason we need this is we're going to type in a formula. And this, I would like to see if I can make this a little larger so that you can see this formula. So I'm going to zoom in my screen here so that we can really make this clear what's going on. So in this column D, this next column next to all of this, I'm going to type in this formula. To do a formula, you start by pressing equal and then the formula word. Well, this formula is concatenate. C-O-N-C-A-T-E-N-A-T, and you can see as I'm typing it shows up there. So I can click on that word concatenate, and then it says, okay, start entering your data. Okay. And so it's already started with what we want. And so that's a little annoying having that big now. Let's back it up just a little bit. All right, so I close that little window, and so here I've got concatenate equals, concatenate, and then the open parentheses, and then it's waiting for me to select what data I want to concatenate. That means to combine cells. So we're going to first click on column E here. We want to combine that, and then we have to put a comma. So I type a comma, and then we go to the next thing we want in the order. So we want E first, and then we want our keyword over here. So I click on A2, and that puts, so we've got E2, comma A2, and then comma F2. And that's it. Now I can either put a close parentheses there or just press enter, and it will automatically close that parentheses. And so if we stretch this out and move it over here, we can see the formula up in the top box at the top left here. Equals concatenate, parenthesis, E2, comma, A2, comma, F2, parenthesis, and that ends it. Now it's only showing the keyword in there right now because there's nothing in E and F. So we've got to enter the details in E and F. So what we're entering here is a special code for Google search engine. This is going to be all lowercase, all one word, ALLINTITLE, all in title. And then we're going to put a colon, not a semicolon, but a colon. So it's the shift and then the colon key, and then shift and the quote. So all in title, colon, quote. So that's the first part of our search. Then we go to F, and we do just a quote to end it. And that's it. So now you look at this where we have our formula, and we can see we've got all in title, colon, quote, twisted wood art, end quote. All right. Now if we stretch that out, if I just click in the middle, what I did is I just hovered over that until I had a little arrow in between A and B, and I double clicked, and that stretched that out for us. Now if we go over here, we've got just one row of this content. We've got the formula here, we've got all in title here, and we've got the quote here. If we drag across all three of those and highlight all three of them, there will be a little blue box show up at the bottom of that third one over there. And if we hover over that box, our cursor changes to a little cross or a plus sign. When you're on that box with the plus sign, double click, and that will fill that content all the way down to the bottom of our spreadsheet. That autofill only works if there is data in every cell adjacent to the formula. Okay? If any of these were empty, if this one, for example, was an empty cell like that, then it would stop right here and it wouldn't go further. And so we can't do it next to an empty cell. We've got to do it next to cells that are completely filled. Okay? So there we have all of our data. Now, why did we do this? Because we're going to take this search term, this is our search term now, to find out what our competition is. And so that's why I want another column right over here, because this is going to be our all in title results. Okay, so we're going to call that all in title results. This one I usually put a note here, enter in Google search. And it is vital that this is Google search, not Bing or Yahoo or anything. The data comes from Google. We want our all in title to come from Google. That's the way we do this. So Google has the monster share of traffic. More than 60% of all internet traffic goes through Google. It's huge. They are a monstrous company. So they've got a lot of data. They know what people are searching. Their computers store all of that information. That's where we want to get the data. So we copy this. So if you just click on that field, and then on a Windows computer, you can press Control and C. On an Apple computer, it's Command and C, and that will copy that. Once you've copied, you'll see that that changes to a dotted line around the data. And then we can go up to the top of our browser and click the plus sign to open a new tab. I'll just pull that down so you can see what I'm talking about. Plus sign next to tab, that opens a new tab. All right, and so we've got our new tab open here, and mine defaults to Google. If not, you'll want to go to google.com. And then we're going to paste, and that's going to be Control V or Command V on your keyboard. And it automatically puts it up in the address bar there because that's how browsers work nowadays. And then press Enter, and that will run the search. So this all in title, colon, quote, twisted wood art with spaces between the words, and then end quote. So the keyword gets spaces between it, but all in title does not. It has to be that way. If you put spaces over here in between all, in, and title, then that sends a different message to Google, and you don't get the same results. Okay? Now, they may change that someday, but right now, that's the way it is. Actually, I haven't tested it for a couple of years, but that's the way it was originally. I'm going to just expect that it's the same. So no spaces there, but spaces with your keywords. And then it gives us results, about 89 results. So there are 89 pages at this moment in time that are using twisted wood art in their meta title. What's the meta title? Well, when you do a Google search, this blue text, that's our meta title. Okay? So we can see we've got twisted wood art on Etsy, juniper log floor lamp twisted wood art on Pinterest, twisted wood art print on Society6, so all of these pages. So 89 pages with twisted wood art, it's not going to be hard for Rose to get her page up here at the top of the search engines. Now here's another little thing to look at. See the images here? One of the first things they show us in the Google search results currently is images. Sometimes with a more competitive keyword, you'll see ads up here first and maybe over to the side. And so we can name our images with that keyword, twisted wood art, and our images will start showing up here as well. So I'll show you some examples of that. But anyway, we want to take that number 89, and we're going to go put that back here on our keyword tab, 89. That is our all-in title or our competition for that phrase. Now, this phrase here has between 1,000 to 10,000 searches instead of between 10 to 100. Twisted wood art doesn't have a lot, but wooden art has more search demand than the twisted wood art does. So let's copy that one and let's go check that, shall we? So we go back over here and we're going to replace that search. Again, Control C, Control V, like Victor, to copy and paste. Look at that, 92,200 results. Now we're still getting the images before anything else, and then we have Amazon showing up there, and then we have Etsy, and then we have map results, which will often come up. All right, so 92,200. 92,200. So again, this is our competition right here that we're looking at. Which of these is going to be easier? If we have a phrase that only has 89 competitors and a phrase that has 92,000 competitors, obviously it's going to be easier to get some traffic from the one that has 89 rather than 92, right? But then we have to balance this with the number of searchers. So yes, we might be at the top of the search results for this phrase, but that may only be 10 people a month seeing our site. Probably not quite enough with that keyword alone to start making sales. All right, so we move on and we look at the next phrase. And so you do that on and on and on down through your phrase, or through your phrase list. I'm not going to do all of these today for sake of time. I've shown you how to do it. You want to continue to do it, but we only want to do it to those things that are relevant. If you're not selling acrylic paint on wood, then we come over here to number 8, we right click on that column, and we delete, or that row rather, and we delete the row because it's not relevant to what we're doing. Painting on wood. Well, that sounds like somebody looking for information about how to paint on wood. That's not relevant. So we're going to right click and delete that row. So that's the next thing you want to do here is before you do the all in title or as you're doing the all in title, delete anything that's not relevant. Okay. Palette art. I don't know, that might be something that you might do somewhere down the road. So we'll leave it there, but it's not currently relevant. Wood canvas, probably not relevant. Carved wood wall art, maybe. Reclaimed wood wall art, yeah. Palette wood art. Best paint for wood crafts. Well, we're not selling paint on this site, and so we're going to right click and delete that one. Okay, so you'll cull the list. There's an old cattle phrase, ranching phrase, culling the herd. You'll cull the list and delete anything that is not relevant to your products that you are currently selling. Okay, so do that as you're going through it, and then also we can shrink this up a bit. We don't have to see all of that. See if we can get our. So this is our minimum search and our maximum search numbers. So we'll shrink those up a little bit. And all of this over here, so this all in title and quote, we really don't even need those to show. I can highlight those two columns there, right click and hide columns. Do not delete them, do not clear them, hide columns. So that just hides those columns. You can see the arrows there where we could bring them back if we wanted. That way they're out of the way, and I just have the ones that are the data that's relevant to me. Reclaimed wood wall art, well, that might be a relevant phrase. So let's grab that one and go search. And so we'll take that over here and throw it in, 54,700. And so we come back and put that in our list. All right. And there we go. Now, if we do, let's say we do a search and we're doing this for hours and hours and our brain's getting numb, we might make a mistake. And if we come back and look at our list the next day and we see that this one that has between 1,000 to 10,000 only has the number 8 in it, right next to one that has 54,000. So if we come back and look at that later and think, I don't know if that's correct, that doesn't look right because there's a lot of search volume and only 8 phrases or 8 pages competing, probably isn't right. Maybe I typed it in wrong. Maybe I pasted in the wrong place. Something probably didn't happen right. So I'm going to search that again and double check it just to make sure. And sometimes you will see 1,000 or more searches with very low all in title, but it looks like an anomaly, so I'm going to double check it. All right. So that concludes our discussion of what to do next, part 2 in keyword research. I went a little longer than I had expected to actually, but this is the next step in keyword research. Now I'm going to end this webinar and then we'll move on to the next steps for you because you need to complete this before you start moving on and learning what to do next with your phrases. So go ahead and do all of that, all in title for your entire list of phrases. Then we can then you can move on to the next webinar.